Like many DC characters, Green Arrow has been around for a very long time, 83 years to be exact. It took 42 years for him to get a solo series, which came out in 1983, written by Mike W Barr, who is probably more associated with DC than any other publisher. The stuff Barr is most known for with DC is his time on the Star Trek book. He's also the main driving force behind The Outsiders and Batman and The Outsiders, as well as a run on Detective Comics, which includes the polarizing Batman Year 2. In this 4-issue run, his characterization of Oliver is very middle of the road. There are moments where I think he's handled very well and feels on brand with what Oliver is like at that point, but there are other times where he just feels like a generic vigilante type hero. There are a few points where Oliver brings up what Batman, or Bruce, whatever you want to call him, would do at a certain situation, and I don't know what it is, but it kind of just feels like W. Barr in a way, implying that he would kind of rather be working on Batman, but is sort of just stuck on a Green Arrow book. The pacing of the story proper is fine. The only issue I really have is there are chunks relatively early on in some of the issues where it's just catching you up on events that happened in the previous issue. So this book was definitely written to be read month to month rather than just reading all through in one sitting. Which is fair considering, like I said, it came out in 1983, plus this has never been put in trade to any extent, so it wasn't intended to be read all in one group. The gist of the story is a rich older woman Oliver knew named Abby Norton dies and he inherits the company that she ran. The cause of her death is very mysterious and it sort of sets up a murder mystery. With lots of people being closely tied to her and Oliver being the one that inherits her company, it's definitely a whodunit type situation, and you aren't really sure who's out for Oliver. Oliver tries to get to the bottom of the mystery, but some outside forces get involved. Along the way, there are some shady attempts on his life. Count Vertigo is involved, so is the CIA, Black Canary makes some appearances, and at the end, they fight a pirate. Of course you saw that coming. Why wouldn't he fight a pirate? So between all that, we kind of run the gambit of things in the wheelhouse that you would expect Oliver to deal with in the modern age, but we also have some Bronze Age wackiness in here. Despite this being Oliver's first outing in his own title, the story doesn't make much of an impact on him or the general Green Arrow lore. Abby is introduced in this story and she's retconned into Oliver's life prior to him being stuck on the island, but none of that is picked up or expanded on anywhere outside of this little run. And like I mentioned earlier, Oliver inherits her company earlier on in the story, and at the end of the story that gets resolved, and Oliver is basically back to where he was at the start of the story, so that portion doesn't even have much of an impact on anything outside this storyline. The biggest takeaway from this historically, I guess you could say, is this is one of the very early appearances of Count Vertigo. I believe this is his third appearance ever, so it has that going for it. The art has Trevor Von Eden on pencils and Dick Giordano on inks. Eden worked on multiple titles primarily through the 70s and 90s, his two more standout contributions being one of the co-creators of Black Lightning and also being the artist on Batman Venom. Meanwhile, Giordano did inking on essentially every major DC title during the 80s. With a crew like that working on this book, the art definitely lives up to those resumes. It's very good Bronze Age art, so if you are a fan of how Bronze Age DC era looks, there's plenty of that in here. There's also a few moments where I think the panel layout is very cool and pretty interesting. The presentation of Count Vertigo's abilities are also done very well, and I like the way that it's depicted. So I would say it's definitely a fun little trip to go on as far as Green Arrow stories are concerned. This doesn't have any real major impact on the character, so I wouldn't say this is a necessity read if you are a fan of the character or if you want to get into the character. But if you are a Green Arrow fan and you have a way to read this, I would say at least check it out, see what it's like. It's Bronze Age wackiness, but there's also some seeds of stuff that becomes very wheelhouse territory for Green Arrow stories. I know this one is a little on the short side, but I mean, hey, it's always nice to get something out there. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, comment, all the fun algorithm boosting thingamajigs, and I will catch you guys in the next video.